EarthBound is one of my favorite RPGs of all time. Longtime viewers are no doubt familiar with the fact that it was the first RPG that I ever played, and I just didn't get it at all. But eventually, during a boring summer break, I gave the game another shot, and I fell in love with the game's unique brand of absurdist humor and the presentation of a modern-day world in 16-bit glory. And without a doubt, some of the most memorable moments were due to some of the game's unique boss encounters. And for better or worse, these are my top 10 most memorable boss fights from EarthBound. And naturally, this is going to contain some EarthBound spoilers, so consider yourself warned. Let's go! Starman Jr. is an easy fight because Buzz does all of the heavy lifting, but this boss fight was the one that really set events into motion. Buzz was sent back in time to save Ness from the Starman Jr. to prevent the prophecy of the Apple of Enlightenment from coming to pass, the one that said Ness and his friends would defeat the evil being Giygas. Essentially, Starman Jr. is to the Terminator as Buzz is to Kyle Reese. Starman Jr. is also your very first look into the game's Starmen, who are the iconic and quintessential enemies of the game. Because your actions hardly matter at all during this fight though, it barely qualifies as a boss fight. So with that in mind, that's why Starman Jr. barely makes the list. Onett Police Force is led by Captain Strong. You know that they're famous for closing roads, but did you also know that they're famous for attempting to beat up a 13-year-old boy in an interrogation room and failing? Right on the heels of defeating the Titanic and using some of the newly unlocked powerful psychic attacks, this fight is like an early game boss rush that gives the players a reality check, and is capped off with a fight against Captain Strong and his patented Super, Ultra, Mambo, Tango Foxtrot style of martial arts. Players will have to carefully manage their psychic points and healing items in order to overcome this endurance run. And personally, the imagery of a 13-year-old boy beating the snot out of some crooked cops is absolutely hilarious. And the fact that it's super messed up for police officers to gang up against a kid. And this fight also just goes to show how much influence Giygas is already having in the world this early on in the game.
Pokey here. We all know this game stinks, but you know what else stinks? Ness in his stupid hat eating hamburgers right out of the trash can. Gross! Sweaty photographers and their fuzzy pickles. Greasy pizza from Mock Pizza. The Runaway 5 and their stupid shows. And that SuperDerek with his new zip-up hoodie and that stupid hair. Whatever you do, don't pre-order your made-to-order EarthBound-inspired SuperDerek hoodie that comes with 5 original, disgusting, scratch-and-sniff stickers. Smell you later. Spankity, spankity, spank.
This one-time run of screen-printed hoodies and tees will be made to order and shipped out in January. Pre-orders close on January 22nd. Visit shop.superderekrpgs.com today to get it on this limited time drop.
The fight against Mr. Carpenter is one of the most memorable fights in EarthBound because of all of the build-up leading into the boss fight. To set the stage, a group of cultists kidnapped a 13-year-old girl, Paula, who contacts Ness psychically during his sleep, pleading for his help. Eventually, you track down these kidnapping creepazoids in blue jumpsuits, and when you finally confront Mr. Carpenter, he completely wipes the floor with you, if you're unprepared. Instead, you've got to meet up with Paula, who first gives you the key to turning the tides against this one-sided slapdown. She gives Ness the Franklin badge, which allows Ness to not only survive the onslaught of lightning attacks, but in a shocking twist, reflect them back onto Mr. Carpenter. There's something incredibly poetic about the power of lightning striking down a cult leader in his tracks, making this fight an easy one, but also one that I will never forget. Earlier I said these bosses would be memorable for better or for worse. Well, here's where the for worse part comes into play. The Carbon Dog might at first seems like he's all bark and no bite. Seems like it should be pretty easy to ice this hot dog. Low hit points and no real magic to speak of. But upon defeating the Carbon Dog, something awful happens. Just when Ness and co turn up the pressure, the Carbon Dog becomes the Diamond Dog, causing massive headaches for any unsuspecting player. He comes at Ness and company with eye-watering attacks that will paralyze Diamond Eyes and outright kill Ness and crew if you're not careful, easily making him one of the hardest normal boss fights in the game, since he's made of literal diamonds after all. And to make matters even worse, first-time players may have already spent all of their strongest attacks, bombs, and rockets on the Carbon Dog by the time the Diamond Dog comes out to have his day, with shields and all, making this fight a real dog of a slog. Nothing quite instills fear into quite so many people as the fear of what lurks unknown in the deepest of deep waters. The Kraken, though, is proof that sometimes knowing what lies beneath the surface doesn't make it any less terrifying. This fight kinda jumps out of nowhere, with Ness and crew chartering a ship to Scaraba. This sea serpent sends thunderbolts of lightning and bursts of flame against which there is no defense but to fight fire with baseball bats, psychic blasts, ice, and laser beams. Eventually, the Kraken becomes just another normal enemy fight, but I still remember being completely terrified of this thing coming right at us, a sea serpent attacking a small vessel out at sea. Thank goodness the ship's captain joined the fray very briefly to throw a shoe at the sea serpent, which is probably what allowed us all to survive the fray. By the time you run into the Clumsy Robot, Jeff and Ness know a thing or two about scrapping mechanical monsters. The Clumsy Robot may not look like much, but he's much more than meets the eye. What might at first appear to be a hobbled-together bucket of bolts that clinks and clanks about as he stumbles his way towards you is actually a merciless meat grinder of a machine. Sure, it misses a lot and wastes a lot of turns, but this little guy hits hard when the RNG tips out of your favor, and he starts slinging more rockets than you can handle. And with this encounter being just Ness and Jeff, this battle has the potential to be especially unforgiving. All the while, you feel bad because you're fighting what looks like a mechanical Tommy Pickles, but what eventually overcomes this clumsy little robot is the power of friendship. That is to say, the power of friendship you have with the Runaway 5, who eventually rush in and flick the little robot's switch into the off position. Are we sure these guys are actually inspired by the Blues Brothers and not Huey Lewis in the News? Because, if I'm not mistaken, that's the power of love. Early on in Earthbound, players are likely to go exploring and digging up the game's optional events will be introduced to Liar Exaggerate, a treasure hunter and sign writer. He invites you over to his house early in the game and leads you down into a secret tunnel where he shows off the statue that was recently unearthed. Later, you cross paths with the statue again when dealing with Mr. Carpenter and the thief Everdread of Berglund Park. You later find out that the mayor of Forsyth also stole it from Everdread, but eventually this whole plot is finally tied up during a trip over to Moonside when Ness and Jeff overcome the statue's influence in a contest of wills. The fight itself isn't terribly unique because this statue has a severe allergy to baseball bats that has the unfortunate side effect of causing the statue to explode into a million pieces. But it's the lead up to this showdown that makes the evil Mani Mani one of the most memorable of this list. When it comes to memorable boss fights, how could I fail to talk about the 5 Guardian Diggers? Sure, they may be mid-bosses, but mid-bosses still count, and the count is 3, and the 3 is the number of these Guardians. What makes these guys so memorable? Probably the repetition. They have shields of light at their disposal which reflects damage right back at you, making it a real pain in the neck for first-timers. Starting in the middle with the 3rd strongest Guardian Digger, make sure to use psychic abilities to put this one on ice. Then of course there's the 3rd strongest Guardian Digger. Make sure to use psychic powers to put this one on ice. And then there's the 3rd strongest Digger. Make sure to use psychic abilities to put this one on ice. And of course we couldn't forget the 3rd strongest Guardian Digger, and make sure to use psychic abilities to put this one on ice. And then there's the last, but not least, is the 3rd strongest Guardian Digger. Make sure to use psychic abilities to put this one on ice. With all of that in mind, how could they possibly not be the 3rd most memorable boss fight in all of Earthbound? Alright, now who didn't smell this one coming a mile away? Whether you know him as Master Belch or Master Barf, this gigantic putrid pile of puke pulls no punches. Master Belch is the monster of masticated mash, most maligned for his role in sadistically subjugating the civilians of Saturn Valley. Packed in behind Grapefruit Falls, Master Belch and his minions of muck are pulling the strings behind the zombie invasion of Threed. But perhaps what makes this fight so memorable, besides Master Belch's gaseous expulsions and vomitous vitriol, is his insatiable, uncontrollable love of fly honey, which can be exploited to tie up Master Belch's mental capacity for several turns, during which our party of preteens can pummel this bad guy. And if you thought that last guy's gas was bad, the Giygas fight is one for the ages. And all puns and kidding aside, if you haven't played Earthbound yet and you haven't had the final boss spoiled for you yet, do yourself a favor and just stop this video for now. Just go ahead and pre-order your SuperDerek hoodie at shop.superderekrpgs and then go watch one of my other videos, because this fight is something a little different that I wouldn't want to ruin for anybody else. When I played this game years and years ago, I loved this game, but I got stuck. For weeks, maybe even months, try as I might, stuck in the end of time with no shops, depleted of items, without hope. Gray tin boxes and a sea of gray fought for ages against the geometric shapes zooming about the labyrinth of sheer cliff faces, surrounded by tough monsters and nothing but the instant revitalization device to provide us some cold comfort and substance. My team of friends in the darkness of despair fought unendingly for days and nights against Giygas' hordes, only to be trampled time and time again by the formless, shapeless nightmare of Giygas. Incomprehensible, this disembodied, malicious miasma. We fought valiantly against the darkness over and over, our blows finding no purchase. Each of us, at our limits, reached level 99. All of us. And still, there was nothing we could do. It was during a particularly long and hard-fought battle as we were nearing our usual fate, depleted of healing psychic abilities, low on health, we found our Hail Mary move tucked into a forgotten corner of the battle menu. In an act of desperation, Paula prayed for the safety of her friends. A move that had previously been shown to be nearly useless at best and devastating to ourselves at worst, finally proved itself to be incredibly empowering that day. Because on that day, I was praying for myself to beat the game, as Paula was praying in desperation to survive the encounter. Simultaneously, our prayers were answered by our friends' prayers. Our friends from our travels across the entirety of EarthBound. In our darkest hour, when it felt like those friends were ages away from us, I, the player, hadn't seen a friendly face in EarthBound for literal weeks, mind you. Their well wishes drifted out toward us, across the echoes of time and space, delivering a blow after blow against the tyrant, culminating in a deluge of damage and wave of emotions that tore Giygas to shreds and pulled at my heartstrings in such a way that I was a changed boy from that day on. With tears streaming down my cheeks, that was the boss fight in which EarthBound solidified its place in my heart, carved a spot for RPGs in my destiny, and became the standard against which all boss fights would be forever measured, solidifying Giygas as the most memorable boss fight in all of EarthBound.